Hi there, my name is Selena Rebel Glam Dodson, and this is my tribute to Laron Stapleton. I'm 9 months pregnant, and I don't think I'll be able to go to Laron's funeral because I think it would just be too stressful for me at this time. I've been trying my best not to break down about Laron's death, but not only is it tragic from a standpoint of the fact that he's gone, but it's also tragic the circumstances, and I think the way how people are going to deal with it is also going to be a bit tragic. So rather than go to hear what someone might have thought of Laron, I decided to do my own dedication for him, and I dedicate this to Laron, to his siblings, and to all of the people who grew up in the Kingdom Hall who might not go anymore, who might still go, but who might understand where Laron was coming from. And Laron, I wish that I could talk to you to tell you how loved you were, because sometimes we assume people know they're loved, but I think we should tell people they're loved. And I did know that he loved me, and I believe that he knew that I loved him. Okay, so let's get started. I have many different things I want to say. I'm not going to make it too long, but I just want to start off with a positive memory of Laron. I found out that Laron had a crush on me years ago. I've been married for 7 years now, before I was married. And everybody's in my family, I guess my mom knew, or his mom knew, or whatever, said, oh, Laron likes Selena or something. And I didn't really know him that well. He's just a little boy to me. And I remember making an effort to get to know him a little bit and talk to him a little bit, and he would just say hi or whatever and go along. And then when he found out I was getting married, one day he come to me like, what, you're getting married? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, to who? And it ended up with me feeling as though I needed him to approve of my husband, Buddy. And he asked me if he could come to my wedding, and I said, of course. And Laron went all out with his suit and everything. And what really warmed my heart is that at the wedding itself, I was late for my wedding. We had a couple setbacks. It was a beautiful, beautiful wedding. I still haven't seen I still haven't seen any that made me feel jealous, because I really, really loved my wedding and all the work my sister did. But when the wedding was when the wedding part was over and we were taking pictures, I took so much pictures my foot actually fell asleep, and Dottie was kind of holding me up, and we still hadn't finished taking all the family pictures, and it was getting dark, so all the photographers were really like, okay, come on, we gotta get some pictures before it get too dark out here, blah blah blah, making it into a big deal. And Laron came up to me and was like, listen, I gotta get a picture with she. And I have a big picture blown up in my album, Laron holding my hand. It's one of my fondest memories of him. I can remember Laron seeming like he was getting a hard time at home. At this point he was not yet an adult, therefore I cannot blame him. And he was having a hard time at home, and I decided I was going to try and take him under my wing and give him some work. And he came and worked with me with a wedding with an awful bride. We had a wedding in a whole town with an awful, awful bride, and he was so helpful and so supportive. And whenever I think of Laron, I always think of a smile. And he was a gorgeous boy, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I don't think he ever got what he deserved. But I know that God is merciful. I've seen that for myself. And so we will await for the time when Jehovah, who's greater than all of us and all of our opinions, will deal with Laron. I want to mention Laron and kids. Laron really seems to love little kids. Him, Josh, Alex, they all love little kids. And I'm very picky with my kids, but I have pictures with them holding my kids. I have, well, not this one that come in, and that one hurt me, that she would never know Laron. But they were one of the few, those kids are some of the few people that I ever let around my children, and it's because their spirit and their heart is genuine. When I meet people, I'm not concerned with who child you are, who you're family to, how much money you have, if you're black, white. I don't give a shit about any of that. What I look for when I meet people is how their vibe comes across to me. And I say that to say that in all walks of life, I'm sure that Laron was loved, because Laron's vibe was very strong. And there are people that are priests, there are people that are elders, there are people all over doing all sorts of supposedly godly things that are not blessed to have that inner vibe, that inner goodness that Laron had. And it's just a reminder to Christians, you know, and all religious people really, that it is hearts that God reads, not actions. So whereas we do all these things for man, or sometimes we might fall short of what man thinks we should do, God is still going to read our hearts and see where we're really coming from. Now, the circumstances surrounding Laron's death equate to more than the car that he was in. Now, I had a Bible, but I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to use the internet to tell you guys the scriptures. In Romans 3 verse 23 it says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." And then it goes on to say in 24, "And all are justified freely by his grace through the redemption that came by Jesus Christ." There's none of us that's better than anybody else. And my real problem with this newspaper article, here's a picture of Laron. I'm actually next to him in this picture. This is from my wedding. His mom wants to know how he died, but yet this article is saying that he was driving a stolen car without a license and he was found dead, which basically is marring his memory, making people feel he deserved what he get, making people feel that he's the person who did it. I've never heard of a person, number one, to steal a car by themselves. Number two, who said Laron even knew the car was stolen? Number three, why, if you can't even drive yet, would you steal a car with no license? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I resent the fact that things are being placed as facts when clearly no one knows the story, and I resent the fact that things are being said as facts when it's supposed to be being investigated. I don't know what mental state Laron was in last. Since I've been pregnant, I've been thinking about him. I went on his brother's Instagram and I was saying to myself, I need to talk to him. Hi, Joshua. And wondering how everybody was doing. It's very hard for a young man to grow up with a different father than his own father. It's very hard for a woman to raise boys without strong male support. It is very hard for a child to be grown up in a religion and told, go meeting or else you're a bad person, go to church or else you're not any good, stuff like that, and not being allowed to actually become who they need to become by thinking for themselves critically. Because the truth is that none of that equates to actually understanding God, and the only way to actually have your own relationship with God is to cultivate it on your own, not in other people's idea of what it should be. Now, I am not sure if Laron loved himself. I know Laron loved other people very much, but I'm not sure if he loved himself. I know at one point he was basically homeless. I know that for a young person, he was going through lots of things. I went on his Facebook page. I realized a lot of y'all might know him as Stapes. I saw him, his profile thing saying self-employed weed man. I said, where did that come from? You understand what I mean? If I could do anything to go back and be able to talk to Laron a little bit more, I would have. But like everybody else, I was busy and I didn't know the full extent, to be fair to myself. But sometimes we forsake our young people, and sometimes we forget to tell them how loved they are, to show them, not just tell them how precious they are to us by treating them as though they are precious. We, the parent, become the hand of God for our children. The Bible says they are gifts from God, while we become his hands to take care of them. We are who have to teach our kids to love themselves. It's very hard if we don't love ourselves, but we must teach our children that. And at the end of the day, our children are going to be a reflection of everything that they've been taught. The same Bible says, train up a boy in the way that he should walk, and he will not depart from it. So we learn that when we see our children departing from how they were trained, then perhaps some of it we might be responsible for. And I say this not just as the parents alone, but the community. The things we do that we think affect only ourselves affect everyone. And the way how we treat our own kids, other kids and whatnot, affects other little children. Laron would have been affected by everyone around him. And I think that within the mystery of trying to understand God, we have come up with rules and regulations, and you shouldn't do this, and your hair plait, and you smoke little herb, therefore the devil got you, and you ain't no good. But I am here to tell you all today that God has not forsaken any one of us, and that none of us are far from the glory of God, and that at the end of the day, we come with this idea of what is a good person and what is a bad person. But the truth is that only God can judge people, because we don't know what people have been through. Yesterday, I watched the TV show, and it was just Chopped, which is on Food Network. And the man said he had been shot 3 times, so Chopped was his chance to see if he still has it. He was robbed in front of his house and shot 3 times. But you know what the man said? He said he feels sorry for the person who shot him, because for a person to be at that state, they had to be really, really broken as a human being to do something like that to another person. Can we get to the point that even when that man still will have to get punished for shooting him, but even when people are punished for doing crimes or for doing wrong things, are we Christian minded enough? Are we following the Christ enough? Are we following the goodness that God has put in the world enough? Are we following the ways of the universe, which always works, so that what goes around comes around? Are we understanding that enough to show compassion, because one day we might too want compassion? Are we trying to live our lives in such a way that rather than judging and condemning or assuming that we know situations that we don't really know anything about, that we can give another person the benefit of the doubt, that we can stick to the things we are sure about, like the love a person gave? At the end of the day, that is what we will be judged for. Not how much times we could sit in a church or Kingdom Hall, any other place, and pretend to learn something, but who we are in our everyday lives. The person that we try to get a little extra $20 out of, that wasn't ours. The woman that we breed from so-and-so, that we play, that we in check for because we don't want nobody to know that we got a child from she called we supposed to be married. Some of us really, really honestly believe that God is an idiot, or probably that God does not exist and therefore have made ourselves our own God. But then things like Laron's death happen, and we are forced now to question who we are, what we are about, and why. And so I say to you today, friends, that none of us are godless. None of us are God-forsaken. But we must take responsibility for ourselves and for the way how our actions affect others. If Laron had had different aspects of his life changed earlier on, perhaps he would not have been in that car that night. Perhaps he would still be with us. And perhaps he would have been given that second chance. Maybe 5 years from now, that second chance to be awesome. Not just in heart, because he already had an awesome heart, but in his society. The way how so many of us have been given second chances and are so thankful for. But as I said, God is merciful. I would like us all to take more responsibility in the fate of our youth. And stop trying to blame them and say, I tell the boy go church. I tell the boy do this. I tell the boy don't carry it away. Take more responsibility. Have we shown the boy why? I have 3 pieces that I dedicated to Laron. Sorry, I'm hot. At what point should we forsake our children? Dash their glass bodies to the cement. Broken now, we insist they must repent. Sticks and stones and fractured bones. Hurtful words house bruised souls. We pretend that they're okay even as they fade away. We pretend it's all their fault, but at what point was the battle lost? We faltered somewhere between diapers and dick pics, between stepping and stealing, between crying and screaming. We fell short somewhere. Again and again we fall short now by refusing blame. And all the king's horses and all the king's men can't fix a fatherless boy's spirit again. And all the king's jewelry and all the king's wives can't help the motherless boy feel any more alive. At what point did we forget to try? At what point did we start to lie? Tell ourselves that with life there is hope as our sons and daughters dance, hanging from ropes. R.I.P. Laron. And that piece for me is the crux of the situation, which is that we are forgetting to be responsible for our kids as a community. On a whole, every man for himself, and many of us don't have the best start, and therefore we just fall by the wayside, and it's not fair. And this next piece is called God Still Loves Us. We may be wrong and unapologetic, disturbed, perturbed, and you may be unnerved, but make no mistake, cause no error. God still loves us, and you better hope he does, because on the day that God is no longer the glue to fix a broken soul, then how will he love you? There are many people out there who think they are so holy, and they live their lives walking around making other people feel God forsaken. But it is funny how if God only loved some of us, then he would have to love none. Because a lot of the people who think they are so holy are full of holes. And lastly, I'm just wishing I could see you again on a normal day instead of all the pain. I'm just wishing I could still be your friend. Wish is all in gray, and this is what it means to suffer. This is what it means to suffer. It's funny how people care about their own lives but never make time for a soul that's so bright. I wish that I could tell myself it's alright, but too many tears come out of my eyes. How many of us lie in coffins cold? God knows he designed some beautiful souls, but this life is so incomplete, and there's no love for our light in the street. If I had time, how many different things would I do? But time is up. Baby boy wasn't 22. If I had time, how many different things would I do? And I'm just wishing I could see you again on a normal day instead of all the pain. I'm just wishing I could call you my friend, which is all in gray. This is what it means to suffer. This is what it means to suffer. Laron, if I could hold your hand one more time, I'd tell you you were yours, but you were also mine. We all belong to each other in this lifetime. Sorry for the days when I assumed you were fine. I'm grasping at memories and asking why I've got so much anger scraping at me inside. I prayed on my knees, but I was late and you died, and the part of me that loved you can't commit suicide, so I carry her spent body and let her reminisce. We had all wished you a much better life than this, and even though this life can't be all there is, the pain we all feel now just can't be dismissed. The days we shared now just can't be relived. Trying not to break down, but that's all there is. Trying not to frown when I think of your smile, but my love for you is making it take a while, and I'm just wishing I could see you again on a normal day instead of all the pain. I'm just wishing I could still be your friend, which is all in gray. This is what it means to suffer. Laron, your death is not in vain. I promise you that we have taken the lesson. I promise you that God is merciful. And I promise you that you were truly loved. I'm just wishing I could see you again on a normal day instead of all this pain. I'm just wishing I could still be your friend. Wishes all in gray. This is what it means to suffer. I'm so jealous of the people who said, wait, but I see Laron the other day. Wait, but Laron told me he was coming to look for you. Wait, Laron this. Wait, Laron that. Can't wait, because I ain't got no more time. Rest in peace, my darling. Your light is still on. Your light has not gone out. And I love you.